everyone, and thanks for logging in to join us to talk about the Master of Hydrogeology at UWA. My name is Sarah Burke and I am the Masters Coordinator for Hydrogeology. I worked for the state government here for about 5 years as a hydrogeologist, and then decided to do a PhD, which I did mostly up in northern WA, looking at the ways that mining was potentially altering the water balances in our groundwater systems. Went to Canada, did a postdoc, and then came back and was lucky enough to be able to come back to UWA, which has been really great. So I'm really excited to talk to you about the Master of Hydrogeology. It's a really important local learning opportunity that I know firsthand from my own experience is really valuable. I'd like to start with an acknowledgement of country. The University of Western Australia acknowledges that its campus is situated on Noongar land and that Noongar people remain the spiritual and cultural custodians of their land and continue to practice their values, languages, beliefs and knowledge. So a little outline of my presentation this evening. The big question is why I study hydrogeology. And if you've decided hydrogeology is for you, why would you do the course at UWA? We're going to talk a little bit about what you learn, the key study opportunities. Importantly for everyone I know are employment outcomes. You don't do a master's for really many other reasons other than you want to get a job at the end of it. Finish up with some information about the duration of the course and the entry requirements. So why hydrogeology? Well, for those of you that aren't already potentially working in the space, groundwater is a vital resource here in Western Australia, where it's 40% of Perth's water supply. And it's also really important globally. More than 95% of liquid fresh water on this planet is stored in the subsurface as groundwater. And so it's really important that we understand our groundwater resources so that we're able to manage them and continue to use them to grow food and for industrial uses as well. So it's really, it's essential for billions of people on the planet that rely on groundwater for their drinking water and food. Hydrogeology is really the study of this water that's stored in the subsurface. So anywhere that you look, if you drill down, you will find water at some point in time, because when it rains, some of that water infiltrates into the ground. So hydrogeology is the study of where that water is, where it's moving to, and how it interacts with the atmosphere, the biosphere, and the geosphere. These groundwater systems are complex and dynamic. If you think for a minute about the nature of them, we're constantly trying to understand something that we can't actually see. So it's challenging, but also rewarding, because groundwater systems are so important, but also impacted by human activity and environmental change. So if I've managed to convince you that hydrogeology is important, why would you choose this degree at UWA? Well, really, Western Australia is a global hub for groundwater. We are very reliant on groundwater, we're very good at understanding groundwater, and we're very good at managing our use of groundwater. So we have, for example, the largest managed aquifer recharge scheme in the Southern Hemisphere. So if you're going to do hydrogeology anywhere, this is a really great place to be, because we have both academic experts and industry experts who work together to make sure that you get a robust learning experience. Our teaching staff at UWA are research-led. We have experts in numerical groundwater modelling, groundwater contamination, groundwater ages and storage. My expertise is in surface water groundwater interaction or environmental hydrogeology. So we have a whole range of experts that feed into the Master of Hydrogeology and help make sure that you are exposed to cutting-edge literature and knowledge around groundwater systems. There's a focus on conceptual knowledge during the course, so we want to make sure that you understand the fundamental principles and properties of groundwater systems, but we also want you to be able to apply that to practical problems in both a laboratory setting and in the field setting. At the end of the day, we want to make hydrogeology graduates that are useful for industry so that you can go out and get a job and have a career, really. So the course has been developed with and is well supported by industry and government, and we strive to continue to offer real-world learning opportunities, work integrated learning, industry placements and research opportunities to really make sure that you get the most out of your master's experience. So what you'll learn are the fundamental properties of groundwater systems, how water enters them and moves through them and comes back out of them, links with the environment, so lakes and wetlands and groundwater dependent ecosystems. You'll learn about the impacts of groundwater use for urban or agricultural mining operations. You'll learn to use numerical modelling frameworks to understand and predict the way that groundwater systems will respond to our use, so that we can make robust management decisions. You'll also learn about not just the physical flow of water, but also chemical and biological processes, and be able to bring all that together to help to make sound management decisions about this really vital resource. And the other thing that we really emphasize, that in addition to the science, is that you need to be able to communicate that. So any employer now, there's a real focus on communication skills. You need to be able to work in teams, and you need to be able to talk to non-experts to make sure that they understand the key elements that you know about groundwater systems. So we do place some emphasis on that to make sure that you're employable at the end of the day. So study opportunities. In addition to the core units on groundwater systems and numerical groundwater modelling, we also offer elective units in geology, environmental geoscience, physical geography, GIS, spatial data analysis, remote sensing, and ecosystem biogeochemistry. So you will do a core set of units that really form the foundation of your understanding of hydrogeology, but then within that you have some scope to choose which kind of direction you'd like to move. Mining hydrogeology, for example, is another one. We also have opportunities for field work so that you can develop critical skills in data acquisition and analysis. And if you're research inclined, we offer a 24-point research project on a topic of your choice. And these are most commonly done in collaboration with government or industry. So you get an opportunity to work mentored by a researcher on a real world issue or problem. And the other, another avenue you can take is to do an industry placement. So if you're possibly not that interested in doing an in-depth detailed research project, you can still get that experience with industry by doing an industry placement and build your contacts and networks that way. Employment outcomes. Now this is the good news story. There is a major need for graduate hydrogeologists in Western Australia. Our grads are snapped up often before they've even finished their course at the moment. And those jobs are not just in the mining industry, but also in consultancies and government. So you don't have to work in mining just because you've done hydrogeology. Although people look pretty good in their high vis, as you can see on the screen there. There's 3 of our recent graduates who all happen to end up at the same mine site together, and sent that photo through, which was really great. So yeah, the jobs are there. People in industry contact us regularly when they have positions open. And so in terms of upskilling yourself to be employable, I think it's hard to find anything better than hydrogeology in Western Australia at the moment. And the skills are equally valuable in environmental science roles. So they're relatively transferable. Skills, and some students have taken jobs that are environmental science positions, and then they form the hydrogeology kind of backbone of that environmental science group. And starting salaries are around 75,000 per year. There'd be a bit of spread in that depending on who you work for, but even government salaries are pretty good. Hydrogeology is a specified calling position. So the remuneration is relatively good for starting salaries for graduate hydros. Duration and entry requirements. So if you're a domestic student, you can complete the course in 1.5 years. And for entry requirements, we require that you have a bachelor's degree or equivalent as recognised by UWA, with a weighted average mark of 50% or above. And we've specifically designed the course so that we can take from a range of majors. So there's no undergraduate in hydrogeology, but you can enter the course with a major in geology, environmental geoscience, environmental science that has kind of a hydrology bent to it, or environmental engineering. And so people tend to come to hydrogeology from two directions. One is they've either done geology, and the other is they've done environmental science or environmental engineering. And so regardless of which stream you're coming from, the course has been specifically designed so that you can get the training you need to come out the other end as a qualified, robust hydrogeologist. And that appears to be the end of my slide pack. Perhaps if I can get Steph to, I will stop sharing. Yes, someone nod for me if that's what I should be doing, I think. Yeah, Steph, now, can people see us? They can see us, right? Yes. Annette, nodding? Yes?
Oh, yes.
Great.
Yes.
So, Steph, I don't think we have any open questions, so I'll just remind people. Oh, here we go. Could driving be part of fieldwork or careers in hydrogeology? Yes, as a hydrogeologist, diving. Sorry, I misread the question. I put an R in there. If you were specifically doing cave diving, I think would be the only way that you might end up doing diving as a hydrogeologist. Or potentially you could be looking at submarine groundwater discharge, which is where there's groundwater coming out in the ocean, and you might need to get down there to sample it. But that would be unusual, I would say, rather than common to be doing any diving. And is this course available flexibly or part-time? For example, those working in industry and wanting to undertake the course. That's a really good question, Lindsay. So we are working towards improving the flexibility options. There is part-time, definitely. The course has been taught as face-to-face. Obviously, in the time of COVID, we are all moving to online faster than we potentially anticipated. We're really pleased to be offering a fully online graduate certificate in hydrogeology this semester, which is really exciting. And we hope to kind of carry that forward to provide those opportunities we know there's demand for by people who are already working in industry or working as geologists, for example, but would like to shift their training a little bit. So we're really aiming to A, provide those opportunities, and B, expand those opportunities. So definitely if you're working, there may hopefully be a pathway for you to get involved in hydrogeology at UWA. And maybe that's a good time for Steph to jump in, because Steph's been studying the course now, and Steph and I had quite a bit of discussion before she started around how to balance it with work and all that sort of stuff. So perhaps if you want to say a bit about that, Steph.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite lucky that I worked for a company that had me on a casual ROS basis. So when I had a lot of uni work, I was able to go to my company and just not take on as much work. And so that was really, really helpful. And then obviously when there was field work on at work, I'd only take it up when I was on study break. But I found I just had to have like really good time management so I could balance the work and the uni load. And sometimes I just take my uni work to site with me and just have to do it in the evening times, and which was not really necessarily the best thing after a 12-hour shift, but if you just manage your time, I found it was doable.
Well, I wouldn't have known by looking at your work, Steph, that you were doing it at the end of a 12-hour shift and you're done or on site. So well done. What kind of work placement opportunities are available? Hannah is asking. Well, so we rather than having set placements, Hannah, we really support you to go and find the type of work placement that you want to do. So we've had, Steph actually did an industry placement with a consulting company. We've had people do placements with government, with mining companies, and really it's open for you to negotiate and to go out into industry and to find the opportunities that you want, depending on the learning that you want to do. So Steph had obviously been in the workplace before, So our focus wasn't on her establishing credentials around an ability to work with others in the workplace. That was clear from her CV. It was more about building her geological skill set to work in a hydrogeology specific capacity. Would you say that's fair, Steph?
Yeah, definitely. And I found that because one of the modules we had a lot of industry people would come in and give us talks on different topics. And then I found it was I figured out what industry I wanted to, industry placement based on the topic I found the most interesting, like the one on managed aquifer recharge. I thought that's something I've never really been understood before. It was very new to me. So that's why I went with Rockwater, because of that lecture series, basically.
Yeah, so throughout the course, you meet these people from industry because they come and give guest lectures to the students. And so, yeah, you're sort of given free rein, but in a supported way, if you like, to kind of, to help find the right placement for you. Marley's asking, are there challenges managing family life and geology jobs? Yeah. I think there are always challenges balancing work and your family life. I think it to an extent depends what kind of role you have, and there are certainly people who would not be interested in taking, for example, a FIFO role as a hydrogeologist because they have family commitments at home. But as I mentioned earlier, not all jobs are in the mining industry. Even not all jobs in the mining industry are FIFO roles. So it's really a matter of finding a role and a position that works for you. And if that's working Perth-based for the government, potentially with a bit more flexibility, then you would certainly be seeking those types of opportunities. Yeah. So I feel like there was a question that I didn't speak to but has now disappeared in the Q&A. I'm not sure. Perhaps, Steph, what are your kind of big take-homes from the course? You're kind of coming to the end of the course now.
Yes.
Yeah, what would you say to students thinking about doing it? And feel free to be honest. It's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. It was a really good challenge. Like, there were times when I was sat there looking at the assignment, just like overwhelmed by it, completely overwhelmed. Like, I don't even know where to start on this. But then I guess you talk to your peers, and the lecturers are always there to help as well. And if you just break it down into smaller steps, and then I just found things started to fall into place, especially the more as you go throughout the course. But afterwards, it was such a good achievement. Like, as Sarah would know, one of my I hate maths, and it's not my strong point. But when we came to that part of the course, I felt once I applied myself, it was so rewarding to get through it. And all the, the stress and the worry was fine in the end. Because
yeah. And would you say now that you can't do maths?
I was going to say, I'm happy to challenge it more now.
Yeah.
I'm still not my strong point, but I definitely feel more comfortable with the hydro stuff that we came across. So it's not so daunting anymore, because I know how to handle it, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. That's good. Well, that's great. I'm glad that you found it both challenging and rewarding, because that's how you get the most out of it.
Yeah.
So I think we're about to wrap up the session now. I'm seeing in the chat. I think 6:50 is our scheduled conclusion time. So perhaps we'll leave it there. Would you say, Annette? Give me a nod. Yeah, beautiful. All right, thanks so much for attending. Thank you, Hannah. And I'm not sure that I'm still on, but oh dear.